Nicki Minaj is done for. One tweet just triggered a cultural meltdown so massive that fans are saying her entire empire is collapsing in real time. This whole situation has the internet spinning because what she didn't just upset people, it shattered everything they thought they knew about her. And it gets so much worse. Everybody thought they knew the full story about Nicki Minaj, the rap queen, the fearless icon, the one who stood for the misfits and the outcasts. That was the version everyone repeated for years. She was untouchable. But now leaked footage, deleted posts, and a deafening silence got the whole narrative twisting in ways nobody expected. What started as a single controversial tweet has now detonated into a full-blown political firestorm. And the craziest part? Nicki didn't stumble into this. She walked straight into the fire, smiled for the cameras, and then vanished without a word. The barbs are fractured, the LGBTQ+ community feels stabbed in the back, and the internet has officially seized control of her story. Let me break this down because this is where everything starts getting insane. It all kicked off with a tweet, one single tweet where Nicki Minaj inserted herself into California's most volatile trans policy battle. She didn't just share an opinion, she threw herself headfirst into a political war zone that has been tearing communities apart for months. Screenshots exploded across the internet, timelines burned, and fans froze in disbelief as they realized this wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding, this was positioning. And before anyone could process what was happening, leaked footage dropped. Not some blurry background clip, not some accidental appearance. We're talking about front and center footage of Nicki Minaj at a Turning Point USA event. She's smiling, she's clapping, she's engaging with the crowd like she belongs there. Cameras caught everything, every nod, every grin, every second that couldn't be unseen or explained away. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Turning Point USA is a conservative activist organization that has been at the center of some of the most divisive political movements in America. They're known for their hardline stances on issues that directly impact LGBTQ+ rights, immigration, and social justice. And for fans who built their entire identity around Nicki's music, seeing her on that stage felt like a public execution of trust. But it gets even crazier. Online detectives took this to a whole new level, digging into every detail like they're on some CSI mission. They started pulling old interviews where Nicki openly criticized Trump-era politics. They found clips of her talking about equality, acceptance, and standing up for marginalized communities. And then they smashed those clips side by side with her new MAGA-adjacent optics. The contrast was jarring. People online swear this isn't just a political shift, this is a complete identity reversal. Fans turned into full-blown investigators, zooming in on body language, analyzing who she was standing next to, and documenting every interaction. They noticed she wasn't just passing through, she was engaged, and that engagement sparked a wildfire of speculation. Some folks are saying she was being used as a cultural Trojan horse, a celebrity magnet designed to pull new demographics into conservative spaces. Others think this move is about something darker, survival, protection, and access to power. And here's where the whispers get really loud. Sources claim her appearance wasn't random. There are allegations that Nicki was strategically placed at that event to normalize conservative messaging within the hip-hop community. Think about it. Hip-hop has always been a space of resistance, rebellion, and social justice. Seeing one of its biggest icons align with a movement that opposes those values, that's not just controversial, that's a cultural earthquake. Meanwhile, Kenneth Petty's past got dragged back into the spotlight like a ticking bomb. Fans started asking uncomfortable questions. Is this entire pivot about shielding the inner circle? Is this about legal pressure, immigration anxiety, family protection? The theories are spiraling, and every hour of silence from Nicki's camp turned speculation into perceived truth. Then came the most toxic claim yet. A legation surfaced that trans-restrictive rhetoric was being celebrated in the same room she stood on stage. For LGBTQ+ fans, that wasn't disappointing, that was devastating. These are people who blasted Nicki at Pride, who survived on her lyrics, who defended her like family, and now they're watching their safe space disintegrate in real time.
And just as the chaos peaked, Cardi B's name entered the chat. Fans whispered that she saw this coming, that she distanced herself before the explosion. No proof, no confirmation, but the narrative stuck, and it poured gasoline on the fire. Social media timelines became war zones, comment sections turned into therapy sessions, and through it all, Nicki's team said nothing. No damage control, no denial, no cleanup, just radio silence. Now, let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place. Nicki Minaj didn't just wake up one day and decide to blow up her entire brand for no reason. There's always a deeper layer to these stories, and when you start pulling the threads, a pattern emerges that makes this whole situation look calculated. First, let's talk about the political climate. We're living in an era where celebrity influence is currency. Whoever controls the narrative controls the culture. And conservative movements have been aggressively recruiting high-profile celebrities to shift public perception. They know that if they can get someone like Nicki Minaj, someone with massive cultural reach, to align with their messaging, they can penetrate demographics that have traditionally been off-limits. It's not about belief, it's about access. Now, think about Nicki's personal situation. Her husband, Kenneth Petty, has a criminal past that has been a constant source of legal scrutiny. There are ongoing issues related to probation, travel restrictions, and the federal registry. And when you're dealing with that level of legal pressure, you start looking for allies in powerful places. Conservative political circles have connections that can make problems disappear, or at the very least, become more manageable. That kind of access doesn't come for free. It comes with expectations. Then there's the immigration angle. Nicki has family ties that stretch across borders, and in today's political climate, immigration status can become a weapon. There are whispers, unconfirmed but persistent, that Nicki's alignment with conservative figures might be tied to protecting loved ones from deportation or legal complications. That kind of fear is powerful. It makes people do things they never thought they would. But let's keep it real. This isn't just about legal strategy. This is about optics and positioning. Nicki has been in the game long enough to know that controversy keeps you relevant, and in a time where her music releases haven't been hitting the same numbers, where younger artists are eating into her market share, staying in the headlines becomes a survival tactic. Negative attention is still attention, and attention is still currency. Meanwhile, let's talk about the financial falloff. Nicki went from being one of the highest-paid female rappers in the world, pulling in millions per show, to a noticeably quieter schedule. Tours got shorter, festival bookings became less frequent, streaming numbers plateaued, and when you've lived at the top for that long, watching the empire slow down hits different. That kind of falloff creates desperation, and desperation makes people take risks they wouldn't normally consider. Now compare that to someone like Cardi B, who's still out here showing explosive success, landing major brand deals and staying culturally dominant. That comparison isn't lost on anyone. Envy is real, jealousy is real, and when you see someone else thriving while your momentum stalls, it can spark decisions that prioritize headlines over legacy. Put all that together and it starts looking like the perfect recipe for a calculated pivot. Maybe Nicki thought she could ride the controversy wave, build a new base, and secure protection for her family at the same time. Maybe she genuinely shifted politically and thought her fans would follow. Or maybe, just maybe, she miscalculated how deep the loyalty ran and how quickly it could shatter. And it gets worse for her, because once the internet turns, there's no reset button. Once trust fractures, no apology hits the same. No comeback feels clean. No legacy stays untouched. Nicki Minaj is learning in real time that you can't rebuild a parasocial empire on silence and strategic ambiguity. Fans don't just want explanations, they want accountability. And right now, they're getting nothing. But here's the part that really hits different. The ones who got caught in the middle of all this were the LGBTQ+ fans, the ones who didn't just listen to Nicki's music, they lived in it. They found refuge in her lyrics. They felt seen in her defiance. They defended her through every scandal, every controversy, every messy public beef. And now they're being forced to reckon with the fact that the artist they loved might not stand for them anymore. This isn't just about politics. This is about identity. For queer fans, especially young queer fans of color, Nicki Minaj wasn't just entertainment. She was a symbol. She was proof that you could be bold, unapologetic, and still win. And seeing her on the stage with people who actively work against LGBTQ+ rights, that wasn't disappointing. That was soul-crushing.
The leaked footage shows something you can't fake. You can see the discomfort in real time. Fans posting tearful videos, deleting playlists, unfollowing accounts, writing goodbye essays like they lost someone they loved. These aren't casual listeners. These are people who tattooed her lyrics on their bodies, who spent their last dollars on concert tickets, who built entire communities around her music. And the silence? That made it worse, because silence, in this context, doesn't feel like reflection. It feels like abandonment. It feels like Nicki got what she needed from the LGBTQ+ community and then walked away when it was no longer convenient. That's the narrative taking root, whether it's fair or not. Parents are questioning her influence. Teachers are pulling her music from classrooms. Community leaders are grappling with how to address the betrayal without erasing the positive impact she had. And through it all, the question keeps echoing. How do you grieve someone who's still alive, but no longer the person you thought they were? This is generational trauma playing out in real time. This is what happens when parasocial relationships shatter. And the saddest part? Nicki might not even realize how deep the wound goes. She might think this blows over, that fans will forget and forget. But the internet doesn't forget. And trust, once broken on this scale, doesn't heal. It scars. Now, this whole situation gets even crazier when you realize just how deep the internet dug. We're not talking about casual observers. We're talking about fans turned forensic analysts who started treating this like a federal investigation. And what they uncovered painted a picture that Nicki's team is going to have a very hard time explaining away. First, let's talk about the timeline. Online detectives started pulling archives of Nicki's political statements dating back to 2016. They found tweets where she criticized Trump. They found interviews where she talked about supporting marginalized communities. They found moments where she aligned herself with progressive movements. And then they laid all of that next to her current actions. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. But it wasn't just about what she said. It was about where she was saying it and who she was saying it around. Fans started identifying other attendees at the Turning Point USA event. They cross-referenced names with known anti-LGBTQ+ activists. They documented speeches that happened at that same event, speeches that explicitly pushed trans-restrictive policies and conservative family values messaging. And Nicki was there, not protesting, not challenging, participating. Then came the voice analysis. Some fans swear they can hear Nicki's voice in background audio clips from the event, allegedly agreeing with statements or engaging in conversation. Now, this is where things get speculative, but the internet doesn't care about verification when the narrative is this explosive. People are running audio through software, comparing vocal patterns, and claiming 73% similarity matches. Is it conclusive? No. Is it fueling the fire? Absolutely. Meanwhile, body language experts started weighing in, analyzing her posture, her facial expressions, the way she interacted with event organizers versus how she interacts with fans. They're pointing out micro-expressions that suggest comfort, familiarity, even enthusiasm. And for a fan base already feeling betrayed, that kind of analysis becomes gospel. But here's where it gets even more layered. Fans started digging into her recent business moves. They noticed she quietly scrubbed certain posts from social media, posts that used to celebrate pride, posts that used to shout out LGBTQ+ fans, posts that used to position her as an ally. The deletions were subtle, but the internet archives everything. And once people started comparing archived pages to current pages, the pattern became undeniable. Then there's the guest list. Reports started surfacing about who else was at that Turning Point USA event. High-profile conservative influencers, political operatives, media personalities known for pushing anti-trans rhetoric. And Nicki wasn't just in the same building. She was allegedly backstage, mingling, networking. For fans, that wasn't optics, that was confirmation. And just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, someone leaked DMs, allegedly. The screenshots show conversations between fan accounts and people claiming to be close to Nicki's team. In those messages, there are references to, quote, strategic repositioning and, quote, expanding the base. Whether these are real or fabricated doesn't even matter at this point, because the internet has already decided they're real, and that perception is driving the narrative harder than any official statement could counter. Meanwhile, Cardi B's name keeps resurfacing. Fans are convinced she knew something was coming. They're pointing to subtle shade in old interviews, moments where Cardi distanced herself from Nicki without explanation. And now, in hindsight, those moments look prophetic. It's adding fuel to the conspiracy that this wasn't sudden.
that people in the industry saw the pivot happening and quietly stepped back before the explosion. And through all of this, Nicki's camp has released zero statements, no clarifications, no denials, no context, just silence. And every day that silence continues, the internet fills the void with its own truth. That's the danger of going quiet in the age of viral speculation. You're not controlling the narrative, you're surrendering it. Let's keep it real. This story isn't happening in a vacuum. There's a bigger pattern at play here, and Nicki's situation is just the most visible example of a cultural shift that's been brewing for years. We're watching the collision of celebrity influence, political strategy, and fan-based loyalty in real time, and it's messy. Think about how many celebrities have made similar pivots recently. Kanye West, Azalea Banks, even smaller influencers who used to position themselves as progressive, suddenly aligning with conservative movements. There's a playbook here, and that playbook involves leveraging controversy for relevance, securing powerful allies, and betting that your core fan base will ride or die no matter what. But Nicki's situation is different because her fan base was uniquely LGBTQ+ heavy, and that's not a demographic you can gaslight or manipulate without consequences. Now, let's talk about the Cardi D angle, because this has become its own subplot. For years, people have framed the Nicki versus Cardi rivalry as petty beef. But what if it was never about music? What if Cardi saw the writing on the wall and made a calculated decision to distance herself before Nicki's political pivot became public? There's no hard evidence, but the timing is suspicious. Cardi stopped engaging, stopped responding to subliminal shots, and now, months later, this explodes. Coincidence? Maybe, but the internet loves a conspiracy, and this one has legs. Then there's the Kenneth Petty factor. His legal troubles have been a constant shadow over Nicki's career, and every time something goes wrong, fans start asking how much of Nicki's decision-making is being influenced by the need to protect him. Is she making career moves based on what's best for her legacy or what's best for her family's legal situation? That's not an easy question to answer, but it's one that keeps resurfacing, and the more she stays silent, the louder that question gets.
Meanwhile, let's talk about the financial desperation angle. We've seen this pattern before. Artists who feel their cultural dominance slipping start making increasingly risky moves to stay relevant. They align with controversial figures, they say shocking things, they chase headlines instead of artistry. And sometimes it works. Sometimes controversy translates to streams and sales. But other times, it backfires spectacularly. And right now, Nicki is in the backfire zone. There are also whispers about internal team conflicts. Allegedly, people close to Nicki have been advising her to address the situation head-on, to release a statement, to go live and explain herself, but she's reportedly refused. Some sources claim she believes the controversy will blow over, that fans will eventually come back, that this is just another storm she can weather. But what she might not be realizing is that this storm is different. This isn't about a rap beef or a messy breakup. This is about values, and values don't just blow over. And let's not forget the role of social media algorithms in amplifying this disaster. Every time someone posts about Nicki, the algorithm pushes it to more people. Every reaction video, every think piece, every deleted tweet gets magnified. The platforms are literally profiting off her downfall. And the more engagement the story gets, the harder it is to contain. This isn't just a PR crisis, it's a viral phenomenon. And this story is still unfolding with way bigger implications than just one celebrity scandal. What we're seeing here is a fundamental shift in how parasocial relationships function in the age of hyperpolarization. Fans used to be able to separate the art from the artist, but in 2025, that separation doesn't exist anymore. When you stan someone, you're not just supporting their music, you're co-signing their values, their politics, their entire worldview. And when those values shift, the fallout is nuclear. The bigger conversation is about responsibility. When you build a fan base on the promise of being an ally, of standing for marginalized communities, you can't just walk away from that without consequences. Nicki Minaj spent years cultivating a queer fan base. She performed at Pride events. She shouted out LGBTQ+ fans in interviews. She positioned herself as a safe space. And now that she's allegedly aligning with movements that oppose those very fans, the betrayal isn't just personal, it's existential. This situation is also exposing the transactional nature of celebrity allyship. How many artists genuinely support the communities they claim to champion, and how many are just using those communities for clout and ticket sales? Nicki's situation is forcing that question into the spotlight, and a lot of other celebrities are watching very carefully to see how this plays out. Then there's the political angle. We're watching conservative movements actively recruit black celebrities to shift cultural narratives. They know that if they can flip high-profile figures, they can penetrate demographics that have traditionally rejected conservative messaging. Nicki's situation, whether intentional or not, is a case study in that strategy. And if it works, expect to see more attempts to recruit influential artists. The most important takeaway is this. Trust is the foundation of parasocial relationships, and once that trust breaks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Nicki Minaj isn't just dealing with a PR crisis, she's dealing with a cultural reckoning, and the way she responds or doesn't respond is going to define her legacy moving forward. So where does this leave us? Nicki Minaj is standing at the center of a cultural collapse that she may never recover from. And the scariest part? She might not even realize it yet. There's a very real possibility that she believes this will blow over, that her core fan base will forgive, that she can drop a new album and everything will reset. But the internet doesn't work that way anymore. Legacies are being rewritten in real time, and hers is being rewritten without her input. Let's talk about what happens next, because there are really only three possible outcomes here. Option 1, Nicki addresses this head-on. She goes live, she explains herself, she takes accountability, and she tries to rebuild trust. That's the redemption arc. But redemption arcs only work if people believe you're sincere. And after weeks of silence, sincerity is going to be a very hard sell. Option 2, she doubles down. She leans into the controversy, embraces the new political alignment, and builds a different fan base. It's risky, but it's been done before. Kanye West essentially torched his original fan base and built a new one. But Kanye also had a level of creative genius that kept people engaged even when they hated him. Does Nicki have that same creative buffer? That's debatable. Option 3, she stays silent and hopes it fades. This is the worst possible move, because silence in this context reads as guilt. It reads as indifference. It reads as abandonment. And every day she doesn't speak, the internet writes her story for her, and that story isn't kind. Meanwhile, the fallout is already happening. Playlists are being deleted, streaming numbers are reportedly dropping, brands are quietly distancing themselves, and the LGBTQ+ community, the community that once defended her the hardest, is moving on. Not with anger, with grief. And grief is so much harder to recover from than anger. There are also reports that other artists are paying very close attention to this situation. They're watching to see if there's a blueprint for surviving this kind of cultural fracture. Because if Nicki can navigate this successfully, it opens the door for other artists to take similar risks. But if she crashes and burns, it becomes a cautionary tale that echoes for years. And the most chilling part? Nicki Minaj might have already lost control of her narrative. The internet has decided who she is now, and once the internet decides, there's no rewrite, no second draft, no redemption without years of consistent action. This isn't a scandal, this is a cultural rupture, and the shockwaves are going to be felt long after the headlines fade. Stay locked in, because this story is about to get even crazier. More details are dropping every single day, more clues surfacing, more receipts being pulled. And reports say Nicki might finally be preparing some kind of statement. Whether that statement is going to save her or sink her deeper, that's the question everyone's asking. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Nicki Minaj can recover from this, or is her legacy permanently damaged? Do you think she genuinely shifted politically, or is this about survival and protection? And the biggest question, can you separate the art from the artist, or is this the final straw for you? Make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update, because we're covering every twist that comes out. This is one of the biggest celebrity collapses we've seen in years, and it's happening in real time. The barbs are fractured, the LGBTQ+ community feels betrayed, and Nicki is silent. This is history unfolding, and you don't want to miss what happens next.